intro to 89. Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
This is the Simple Wholesaling Podcast, episode 89, Christmas special. That's
not introducing your own. Brett's not yet.
Wow. Welcome to the show, guys. This is the Christmas special with Simple Wholesaling Podcast, and I'm with my co-host, Jaren Barnes, and I'm Brett Snodgrass. And
I've actually changed my name to Barry White.
Does Barry White sing Christmas songs?
Isn't that who sings that song? I don't know.
Barry White sings sexual songs.
Oh. What's the other guy from the 50s? He's a white guy.
I think it's the guy in New York.
Yeah.
New York. Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, Frank Sinatra. That's who I am.
Barry White. Oh, yes. Play some Barry White, guys, for your around the Christmas tree with your kids. That'll be sweet.
My bad.
Sexual healing.
My bad.
Anyways, we have a great show for you guys today. This is episode 89. We're inching towards 100. And I hope you guys enjoy the show. We are interviewing why don't you introduce our guest, Jaren?
Man, I love Hawker and Associates. I'm just going to say, we are interviewing Eric Downing. He's a representative of our Brett can't say that it's their favorite because he has two favorites. He has Paramount and Hawker, but I don't do any business with Paramount, not because I don't want to, just because I love Hawker. So I can say my favorite title company, Hawker and Associates. They're fantastic. If you guys do anything in real estate in Indiana, they are a fully licensed attorney office, and they are amazing, and they do title company stuff. They pretty much are whatever you want them to be outside of like property management and rehab. So they're pretty awesome. And he is going to do a closing our title masterclass to kind of give an entire breakdown of what they do when they do a title search and kind of break down a whole bunch of stuff. So this is very, 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 very useful information. So take notes.
Very useful.
Yours is a lot better. You're a way better intro person than I am.
No.
I should just stay as the co-host.
No. I'll try it again. Yeah, guys, we have a special guest, Eric Downing, who works with Hawker and Associates.
Why are you gonna put salt in the wound?
I'm just kidding.
My heart is bleeding on the pavement.
I think it's really important, though. This show is super important because if you're a wholesaler or any type of real estate investor, you have to know the closing process. And I think this was important for Jaren because he was a little foggy on how does the closing really work? What do these numbers mean on the HUD?
I was retarded.
And
let's just call it how it was.
And so I think it's just important to know.
I showed up to closing like twice.
He's like, "What's this number mean?" And they're like, "That's the money that you're getting.
Yeah,
that's the sales price."
Or like, I did a retail transaction once, and then there was like an agreement where she just slipped me a check, and I was like, oh, here, and but she was trying to do it on the table. It was weird. There's a lot of stuff I had no idea what I was doing, and I looked really unprofessional. So I wanted to overcome my learning curve, and I actually sat down with Eric and did a masterclass, and I was like, dude, this is so good. We have to get you on the podcast. So
yeah. I think it's always good just to always be prepared. I actually used to do some retail transactions, and I will win in one time, and they're like, where's the seller's disclosure signed? And I'm like, oh, I don't have it. And then there was a question about some type of closing fee, and then we had to look at the purchase agreement, and they're like, do you have a copy of the purchase agreement? And I was like, no, I didn't bring nothing. And the other realtor's like, oh, I got it right here. And he pulls out his folder, and he's got all this stuff.
Exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, so I actually learned the hard way from that, like we all do, and I was like, okay, now every closing that I go to, I make sure, we have the purchase agreement, we have the disclosures, everything that we need right there. So if there's any questions, we can solve it. So that's what this show is going to be about. Let's get under iTunes.
You take the iTunes. I can do it. It's actually easier for me to do it on my computer. So
actually, I want to do it. So this is I'm always stealing your thunder. This is an awesome
I'm
show.
shocked.
Highly recommended.
I'm shocked. I'm going to talk over you.
5 stars. You're
No,
going to
just
talk
kidding.
during the whole review.
No, go ahead.
This is from Jay Barshop. Brett and Jaren and their guests share actionable and inspiring lessons on how to become a better investor and, more importantly, a better overall person. Highly recommended listening and subscribing to Simple Wholesaling if you want the knowledge and mindsets to confidently invest in real estate and reach all of your overall business goals as a result.
Man, thanks, Jay. Thanks
Yeah.
for mentioning me too.
I know. Name dropping. Yeah, thank you so much. This is, again, exactly why we do what we do here at the Sip Wholesaling, and we do this podcast. And it's just so important to help people. I mean, that's our purpose of the company, just to bring people opportunity, whether it's in business or just in life. And we appreciate it so much. So if you love what we're doing here, please go to iTunes right now and leave us a 5-star review and say, Jaren Barnes is sweet. He's a sweet pickle.
Or you could leave a 1-star review and be like, you suck.
Or you could leave a 1-star review and say, Jaren, you stink. I'm gonna come over to your house and toilet paper and wipe.
Shower you down with a hose.
Shower you down with
'Cause
love.
you stink.
Give you a bunch of hugs and smooches.
Moving on.
All right. Anyway. To the inside.
Brett's Inside of the Week. Let's do it.
So on today's Inside the Week, guys, we're actually going to talk about the 5 functions of having a productive team or an all-in team. And I was able to give this presentation at the last mastermind group that I was part of. And they asked me to give a presentation on what are the 5, characteristics or functions to having your team be all in, not just having a non-dysfunctional team, but actually having a team that wants to be here, that wants to work hard, that's hungry, that, if people say, hey, do you like working for Simple Wholesaling? They're like, dude, love it. They're not saying, I don't know, man, I'm about to go, whatever, don't even care. I don't know, just clock in, clock out. So how do you get that? Number one is, and this has really developed over the last couple of years, number one, you have to have a purpose and you have to lead that purpose with passion. I feel like, that's my goal, is to have a purpose and where are we going to go? What's our ultimate goal? And really, at the end of the day, what are we trying to achieve? What are we striving for? And then to inspire and lead the team towards that purpose with passion. So get them excited about the purpose as well, and whatever that looks like. Number 2, accountability. We have to be accountable. And I know that sometimes it stinks, especially when you're not hitting your numbers or, things are not going that well for you and you have to come in and say, oh, I didn't hit my numbers this week. But whatever it is, each person has to be accountable in your company. And I feel like, just looking over everything, I feel like I do that decently well, but I feel like we could actually do it a lot better. And but you have to have some sort of accountability in your team. We have like a scorecard, so we're keeping score on our numbers. How much revenue do we hit? How many calls did we do? How many purchase agreements did we get? And just keeping score on all that. Number 3, vulnerability. You have to be real. You have to be transparent because it's attractive. Nobody on the team wants me rolling up in some brand new Benz that I just, bought off the dealership lot, talking about me, talking about how many deals I did, talking about all this crap, and nobody can touch me because I'm just me. Nobody likes that ego or any of that stuff. It's not attractive. So sometimes, in a certain place, there's a time and a place to be vulnerable, to share from your heart, and you have to develop those times that you're able to do that. And so I talk about that. Number 4, being others focused. Again, it's not about you, it's about them. You have to figure out what they want, what they crave, what's their love language, and you have to fill that. What are their goals personally and professionally, and you need to work to, achieve their goals as well. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about, I want to put the golden handcuffs on my team. I don't want them to know about this. I want to keep this a secret so they don't know about any of this. And I'm like, why would you want to do that? Because it's
never
not
work for you if you had that mindset, by the way, ever.
Cool. It's not about you. It's about them. But but also you have to be fair to the team, and because your overall goal is to have the team succeed, not the individual person too. So you have to be others focused, but really team focused, and then be individual outside of that as long as it fits into the focus of the team. Number 5, everyone in the same boat. I know, just go back and listen to all of our podcasts. We've been different places at different times. We've talked about content stuff. We talked about core stuff. We've talked about a lot of different things, and we've kind of pulled the reins back on that a little bit. Is because I want everybody in the same boat, going to the same purpose, the same direction, rowing the same way. And if you can get that, I picture like everybody in their own individual boat, their individual canoe, and we're all just rowing as fast as we can, and we're going on a race, and we're all just going as fast as we can as possible. Or you put everybody, take them out of those individual boats, put them in the same boat like a crew team, and they're all just rowing the same direction. That boat is going to crush all the other individual boats. So getting everybody in the same boat and rowing in the same direction. If you have a team, this is what it's all about. And those are the 5 functions.
Man, I want to jump in there and actually highlight one more. Obviously, you got a really catchy title, so I don't want to ruin your title. But if there was a 6th one for you to add that I think you do extremely well, there's a book about by Bethel Church, Denny Silk from Bethel Church, called "Loving Your Kids on Purpose" or "Loving Your Children on Purpose," something like that. And I think what you've, at least for me personally, maybe I'm more mushy than other people on the team, but I think that you as a leader have really been able to foster connectedness. I know, like, not only collectively, but individually, like, I feel very connected to you. And I feel like in times when our relationship hasn't had that, like, really on point connection, both of us have really felt it. And I think that the points when we've been the closest and most like rowing in the same direction was when we all felt connected. And that book, Loving Your Kids on Purpose, it kind of talks about how the most important thing in raising up your children is to maintain a heart-to-heart connection with them. So it's the disciplines and the stuff. It's not just about teaching. It's about really fostering like heart-to-heart connection with your kids. And I think that you've done that really well as a leader. And that's one of the reasons why we've been so on board, is because we all feel connected. We all feel like a part of the team. We all feel like a community. Like, I feel more like this is my small group half the time than I do like this is my job, Mm-hmm. So just for whatever that's worth, I definitely think that should be in there somewhere.
I'm definitely going to talk about that. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I can throw it in on one of these. The presentation's already done, so.
Be like 5 functions of having
by the time this comes out, I've already
team
done it.
plus a bonus.
I could do. This is a bonus function.
Yeah.
No, cool, man. Thank you.
Spiritual foundations.
Should we talk about like Christmas story or?
Yeah. But let's just do, instead of like going all deep, let's just keep it a little light and say, what's your favorite Christmas memory and what did you learn from it? I'll ask you that. So, all right. Spiritual foundations. So in this spiritual foundations, I am going to flip the role and take over being the host of the show for a minute, and I'm going to do a mini interview with Brett Snodgrass about Christmas. And I want to ask you, Brett, what is one of your most remarkable Christmas memories, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I have a lot of wonderful Christmas memories. Christmas was like huge at the Snodgrass house, and my parents always made Christmas a really big deal. And a lot of times people will wrap all of their presents, and my parents always would leave presents out, like Santa Claus had come in the middle of the night and left an unwrapped present for me. And I remember some of those times, and it was just absolutely amazing. But I think, after I gave my life to Christ, Christmas became a lot more meaningful to me. And so it was definitely a time after I think I'd give my life to Jesus and really just focusing on what Christmas was, like what God was actually doing and what he was actually saying to us. And I started to not focus on, the presents or the merry, just all the commercialism and all that stuff. And I really just started to focus on what the whole meaning was, and focusing on God and how he brought Jesus into the world. And that nobody ever would have thought. He brings him in such an innocent way, like as a child, the vulnerable baby, and the king's trying to kill this baby, this most vulnerable baby, around, and that's how he brings Jesus in. That's how he comes into the world. And it's just absolutely amazing. I think after that, my favorite Christmas probably was when I had started dating Karen, and so, I was in my low 30s, and I gave my life to Christ, and I was just really going after God and really just pursuing him with everything that I was, and just really getting involved in these different ministries, and just really filled with the Spirit, and kind of just gave up on online dating and doing all that stuff, and really just trusted in God. If God brings me a wife, great. If he doesn't, I'm fine. I'm already happy. Like I'm so happy just by being his child, just by being in his presence, and I couldn't believe he actually still loved me after all the crap that I had done. And then he brings Karen into my life. And I remember, our first Christmas and just going up to her parents' house, and just kind of, I believe that's when I really started meeting her family, and just really getting to know them, and just having a very special Christmas. And I remember we went to this this freezing cold Ford Museum up in Michigan, and it was like freezing out, and she didn't have a hat on, and I had this like really furry hat. My head was getting kind of sweaty, and I looked over, and she was just like an icicle, just so stinking cold. I remember giving her my like little hat, and just the small things, and just kind of seeing her, and just really realizing, wow, like God is such a God of grace, such a God of love, that he would actually give me an amazing godly wife that I don't deserve. And just, that's when really I was like, man, that Christmas was really special.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. How about you, man? Let's talk about your favorite Christmas memory.
To be honest, man, I think mine are still in the making. We, something that I really look forward to when we finally have children is I want to have it be a family tradition for us that we do a happy birthday cake for Jesus. And that after we'll open presents after we blow out the candles and sing happy birthday to Jesus. Because what I'll teach my kids is, instead of like Santa Claus and all that, is that Jesus, he gives gifts on his birthday because he's so awesome. God is a giver. And so I really look forward to that. I'm excited about next Christmas, not this Christmas. Well, when this is aired, it would have already happened. But next year, my mother-in-law will be here. She's immigrating from Kazakhstan, and my sister-in-law is already here, and most likely my other sister-in-law will be here. So it will be like the first time, like lots of people, lots of festivities, and so on. So I've definitely had some amazing Christmases, but I think I have a lot more that will be amazing in the future.
Awesome, man. And with that, guys, we're going to get in to the main part of the show, our interview with Eric Downing from Hawker and Associates.
Boom.
All right, guys, we are so excited for today's guest. We have the Eric Downing from a local title company here in Indianapolis called Hawker and Associates. And I've been working with Hawker personally for many years now. And Eric is the account executive over at Hawker. He's been with them for 15 months. And like I said, Hawker, they're just
awesome.
Yeah, just like I think that they're like the title company. Just spread some awesome sauce on them and just sprinkle some cherries, and
they're the best. It's like if you ever watch Nacho Libre and he says, "Ramses, you're the best."
Yeah,
it's like Hawker, you're the best.
Nice. Well, this is going to be a show just really about the nuts and bolts of, what a title company does. Why do you need a title company? What do they provide? And just really the whole process of the transactions of the business. So Eric's going to be talking with us about buyers and sellers and realtors and lenders and what investors should look for in a title company. And I know Eric does a lot of business with investors, which is really awesome for us because investors and realtors, we're just a little bit different. We do things different. We pay with cash. We want things to, close in 48 hours rather than 48 days.
More like 48 minutes.
And it's just a different type of process, but they do things with ease and smoothness and professionalism, and that's why we use them over there at Hawker. So Eric, thank you for joining us on the show today. What's up, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and we certainly appreciate all of your business and look forward to maybe answering some questions that might help some other people out there.
Yeah, definitely. So to kick this thing off, man, we always ask our guests kind of what their origin story is. So, how did you, get into title work? Where do you come from? Have you always been in Indianapolis? Kind of go into your story a little bit.
All right. So grew up in a small town not too far, Pendleton, Indiana, and grew up in a small family-owned business. My family had restaurants and bars, and so kind of had that, feeling all along of wanting to kind of be my own boss. And so I ventured out after college and had a few startups of my own and quickly realized that, maybe I need to get a little bit more footing and go work for some other companies. My goal was to actually get into business consulting. My passion has always been to help business owners and to help them kind of uncover some of the masked items in their business that need help with, whether that's marketing, sales, HR. So I got a job with a company out of Chicago, traveled around the country for several years, helping small business owners from every variety, every background, and absolutely loved it. It was a Sunday through Friday travel gig. If you have a family, you know why that didn't work out after we started my family. And so I gave that up in 2014. Got involved in real estate at that time with a builder over in Columbus, Ohio, where we were living at the time, and followed them back here as a franchise development manager in 2015 and met Janet. I'd actually known Janet for a few years. She explained, Janet Hawker that is, she explained what it was she was wanting to accomplish in creating that liaison position between the customer and the company. And that's how I ended up here.
Man,
that's cool.
Super awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of title company has a liaison to help answer your question? It's just ridiculous.
That is cool.
It's ridiculous.
And I love Janet. It's funny because I was in this business for a long time and I needed basically an attorney. And I was asking, somebody from California who did a lot of business here in Indy. And I said, who do you know? Because she was really into legal and attorney and documents and making sure everything's all right. And that's not me. I don't really care that much. But I said, who's the best attorney? And she said, by far, hands down, that was Janet Hawker. And that's how I met Janet. And she's been a sweetheart ever since. I remember going to my church, went to a Christian concert one time, and I was seeing, I think it was Mandisa, and then right in front of me was Janet Hawker. And I said, wow, hey, what's going on? So I've always had a heart for, Janet and your whole company over there. And that's cool. So talk to us about what you exactly do there, Eric. I know you've been involved for 15 months now. And, you kind of talked a little bit about the general aspects of what you do, but what have you done up to date now for Hawker?
Well, as I was saying, Janet, for 25 years, she built the company. She was, wore every hat, including the sales and the marketing hat. And she was trying her best to be that liaison or that service representative. And it was really tough because she's also on the law side. She's got 6 attorneys that make up Hawker and Associates. And so it was becoming hard to juggle both of those. And so we talked early on about, what we wanted to accomplish. And again, going back to my passion of helping people. I so much enjoy, helping business owners see and how to grow their business and different mechanisms to put in place to make that happen. So the first thing I did 15 months ago was I started reaching out to our customers and, talking to them about what were they getting and what were they not getting from their title company. And even beyond that, what were they getting and not getting from any other service company, or what would they need if they were looking to improve things. And so we compiled a large list of different things that people were asking for or could use help with. And I immediately started putting together action plans on how to implement that with our customers. And so things like what I did with some of your staff a couple of weeks ago, we set up meetings and training sessions, if you will, to kind of help people better understand specific areas that they might struggle with, primarily focused around the title, but it can also be, any other part of the business. I am not an expert, nor do I pretend to be in any one area of real estate or even in any other industry for that matter. What I am good at is just helping people brainstorm ideas, come up with different ways, and then implementing that in their own life and their own company. So we have a whole array of services. It's really it's not a closed box. I don't like to think inside a box. It's what people need. And so we ask that simple question: what could you use help with?
That's a very simple question. It's a very simple question. I've read so many books, and it's just so simple of sitting down. I don't think we've done the best job at this. I think we're starting to now, is really just asking our clients, like, what can we do better at? How can we serve you better? And then taking one thing, and it just changes the game. And all of a sudden, if you help them with that one need, then now they come to you all the time. And that's pretty cool. And it's just very simple.
Yeah. So, I really wanted to take this interview and really go into the title process. For a lot of our listeners, they might be new to real estate, and obviously it's state specific. Different states do different things, so you definitely got to throw a caveat out there that this is specific to Indiana. But do you mind just taking a few minutes here to just dive into kind of the A to Z of what a title company actually does? Because I think a lot of people are like, why do I gotta spend $1,000 per property on a title company? I don't want to do that. I would rather blah, blah, blah,
meet down at the Waffle House
and just let's sign a napkin.
Oh, absolutely. And this is actually one of the first things I like to go through with new people, new investors, new realtors, because the seasoned folks, and I find that even sometimes they struggle to understand what we do, and that's really part of my mission in this position, is to help people better understand. Because if in the same way I like to better understand what they do, I like to kind of get down to the nuts and bolts of what do you do, Mr. Investor? What do you do, Mr. Realtor? To kind of understand where we can help each other. But from start to finish, and as a condensed model as I can do, essentially we accept the purchase agreement as our order of title, open escrow. We immediately order what's called a search on the property. So we're talking about a traditional transaction here of just, buy, sell. And we order that search. Typically, we get that back somewhere between 24 and 36 hours. We have a requirement with our searchers that it not take longer than 48 hours.
Now on that, your searchers are actually going down to the courthouse, right?
In most cases. Now, there are some counties here in Indiana where they can do a lot of their work online. So if they plug into a county's website and say that county is up to speed enough that they can see certain things, but if there are any question marks when they plug into that online search, we call it a finger search. They have to physically go down, go through the metal detectors, do the whole, gig to get in and actually go through files and old archives to find the records that attach to that property. Now, we could go on and on about the different styles of, searches and different things that are asked, depending on if it's a commercial property, if it's a residential property, and different things. But for the most part, a purchase, we go back 30 years. So anything that has happened to that property that has been made a public record in 30 years, we have to actually obtain that, and our searcher will send us the copies of all that. So every deed of record, every person who's bought and sold that property, every judgment, lien, mortgage, you name it. anything that's been attached to that property and is still attached, I should say. If it's been satisfied, we don't see it, unless for some reason, which is one of the million different ways that your title can be hurt, I guess, is if somebody doesn't satisfy or send that letter of satisfaction to the county that you've paid off a mortgage or paid off a lien or whatever it is. But for the most part, we receive all of that in-house, and our title department then has to do an examination. So they examine, it could be 50 pages, it could be 300 pages of documents. And, this is the part from where we started. I said, you sent me the order until now. Our goal, and this is what we tell our customers, is to have the commitment, the title commitment, in the hands of our customer within 3 days or less. But all the things that have to take place in between that there's an awful lot that, has to be done. But our examiners will sit and type. And for one file, let's say it's a quick cash, but it might have 5-6 judgments and a mortgage and, 15 people in the chain of title that goes back 30 years. That examine and type part can take 2, 4, 6 hours, depending on how many different things they have to type up. And then it leaves there as a commitment, which is what you receive as the customer. And in that email or chain of communication that you get from us with the commitment, it says, we're good to go, we don't need anything else, or it says, we have some things we need to clear. More often than not, that's the case, especially because we are so investor heavy and we do a lot of those properties. We end up with a lot of the properties that need cleaned up and cleared. So it moves to a different division in our office, the clearance department, and they work from open to close and sometimes longer to get those files cleared. And that can that can be in a million different ways, whether it's calling old law firms, whether it's calling old mortgage companies, whether it's verifying information, obtaining, authorizations, everything they can do to either say that, yes, this is our judgment on our buyer or our seller, or no, this is not. From that point, once it leaves that, if it's cleared, we send a ready to schedule to you. And that ready to schedule allows you and all the parties involved to coordinate together and find a mutual time to close. And you can choose any of one of our offices here in Indianapolis to do that.
That's cool.
It's just, I tell everybody who gets started, I had a friend that actually moved here from Michigan to get started in wholesaling land. And he, the course that he took told him to avoid going through a title company to save $1,000. And I was like, dude, don't do that. I was just like, there's no reason. Cause I told him the title insurance is a huge safety net because there's so much manual work that goes with the whole process. The researcher actually has to go down, look up everything, and there's a lot of variables and a lot of balls that could get dropped in that whole process. So just the sheer fact that you get title insurance attached to the whole closing process, I think personally, even if I was buying a property for $1,000, I would double what I paid and paid for $1,000 closing costs. I really would. And obviously it's a little bit less than 1,000, but just round up.
Yeah. And it's the peace of mind that it comes with, that was the condensed version. I could add, I don't know, 6 or 8 dozen more little tasks that go in between all of those. Several of which are attached to that title insurance piece of it. But that's the peace of mind. I mean, when you buy a property under just a quick claim deed or whatever means you are where you're not closing it with a title company, you're taking a risk. That risk is that you've trusted whatever source you used that didn't provide title insurance, that this is free and clear of any judgments, encumbrances, or liens. And
yeah, so
verify that.
So on that, can you briefly go into the different types of deeds for our audience? Because I'm sure somebody out there is like, I kind of know what a warranty deed is. I kind of know what a quick claim deed is. If you could go into that, and then also you mentioned judgments and liens and what the differences are there.
Yeah. So, awesome. The real basics of deeds is your quick claim deed is transferring property, but everything that comes with it. is there. I mean, there's nothing, and you can do quitclaim deeds. We see a lot of quitclaim deeds when it's family to family, estates, different people that are getting it from someone they know. There's a lot of different options for doing quitclaim deeds, but they're the least secure option because they don't actually convey a free and clear title necessarily, the way that a warranty deed warrants that free and clear title. So it's a little separate from what the title insurance does and what the deed does. On the warranty deed, the issuer of that warranty deed is warranting the work that they did to make sure that that was a free and clear title. On a quitclaim deed, any attorney can put that together and they have no risk as a company or as an attorney or whatever to claiming that quitclaim deed. There's lots of other deeds. I mean, people will run into estate deeds and, different transfers of the property, but those are really the two main ones for residential is just the quitclaim and the warranty deed. I mean, guys, you go back to some properties are still under railroad deeds. You probably run into those in the past. And then you wanted to also go into the judgments and liens?
Yeah. So like if a title is not clear, what does that mean?
So it means that typically there's something attached to it. Any one or number of things. It could be unpaid hospital bills. It could be, a divorce decree from past that didn't get paid off at a sale. It could be, what we see a lot of here in Indianapolis are those DCE liens, the Department of Code Enforcement. They had to send somebody out to mow your property because, it was unsightly to them. There's hundreds of different violations that you can incur under the DCEs. I mean, everything. I mean, you can have a lien on your property for unpaid library fees. We've seen those.
I'm probably going to get on that because I never pay my library fees.
Shame, Brett, shame.
Yeah, but it's truly, people are always amazed when we come back to them and we tell them, this is what we found. And we have to be as cordial about it as possible because we're just saying this is what we found and we need to rectify it in order for you to sell the property. But sometimes there's some funny stuff out there. And so that's really, there's no end. And I think I told you this, Jaren, you can go down and with money, put any lien on any property that you want. Okay. Now you're going to have to prove that lien if somebody goes to sell that property, but it's not hard to walk down and pay your fee to the county to put a lien on a property. If you're a plumber and you didn't get paid from someone that you did work for, you can place a lien on their property. That's a mechanic's lien. It's really easy, almost too easy in my opinion, to go down and do that. And then that is what clouts the title. So those have to get cleared up some way.
So sorry, Brett, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, we had this actually piece of land one time and we bought it and had an easement across it. And this easement was for like 4 different landowners. And this neighbor said that he installed some system or something, I don't remember, from the previous owner. And he went down and put a mechanic's lien on the property. So we got it. And I didn't, know, but we ended up just sending him a letter just because he didn't have any proof that he did anything. And it got taken off. But yeah, he didn't have any proof. He just went down and put it on the property.
Right.
Crazy.
And that's where I said, it's the system is good to allow there not to be a lot of red tape to cut through to do that. I mean, you want your normal, self-employed plumber or contractor that, truly does deserve, being paid. You want them to have an opportunity to do that fairly easy, but it's too easy because then you have the dishonest people that go down and do it maybe out of spite.
And just be spiteful.
Yeah. I just want to kind of hit on, I guess a lot of times the question is, should you get title insurance? Should you go through a title company? Should you not? And I typically always go through a title company when I purchase a property. Have we ever sold a property not going through a title company via, using a quitclaim deed or something like that? We have, but it's because we originally went through a title company. So we did all the searches and everything at that time. So I would highly recommend. It's kind of like, if you're getting ready to fix up a home and, you're going to be fixing it all up and making it all bougie, like Jaren says. And, you can either do a walkthrough and kind of look at it yourself, but you don't have any knowledge or wisdom on what you're really looking for. Or you can hire, a professional inspector to go through and really inspect the house so you know exactly what you're getting. And I even think title company, because they're actually, unlike an inspector, they're giving you insurance on figuring out this is exactly what you're getting. And if it's not exactly what you're getting, we're giving you insurance that it is, so you can have a claim that if it's not what we said it was. So
Do you
I
remember?
think it's super important.
Do you remember there was actually a property that we sold, and I think we sold it quick claim deed, and they came back saying they were trying to sell it. There's something on the title, but because you bought it with insurance, the insurance from when you bought it, not when you sold it, covered it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
What was that property? What was that?
It was on Rural Street. I don't know the exact address, but yeah, I mean, I always have peace of mind. Just because, if you sell something, that it can always come back on you if you don't go through the title company. So, in one way, shape, or another, because anybody can come after you for anything. Now, again, like Eric says, you have to prove it, but then you have a messy, expensive battle, trying to go through all that stuff. So.
Yeah, it's easier to wear the extra layers of protection and, have somebody that at least has the means and the knowledge and to go through the process of helping you clear it, because that's not what you're in the business of doing. You're in the business of buying and selling. We're in the business of making sure what you buy and sell is clear and free.
Cool. I want to dive into title companies. So title companies are kind of like wholesalers or real estate investors or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of them here in Indianapolis. And so what makes a good title company? Why is Hawker, kind of up there?
Best.
Yeah, kind of up there on the ranks. And then, what are some mistakes that other title companies might make that people need to watch out for?
Okay. One of the things that I help our customers do for themselves is something that we did very early on, which is discover what our differentiator statement is. And if you don't have one, I encourage you to figure that out for yourself, because that's what you wake up every day and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm here to accomplish blank. And so ours at the differentiator level is really that we're attorney owned. It gives us a leg up against a lot of other title companies. There are other title companies that are attorney owned or have attorneys on staff. I think, having Janet and Cassandra as the other real estate attorney makes it very easy for us. We just have to walk across the hall to get something answered, and we're not billing at whatever hourly rate we might bill to get an answer to a question. That's our biggest differentiator. I think our other is just our communication. We're constantly trying to evolve and make sure that we're not over communicating or under communicating or nagging or whatever it is. Like, we want to make sure that we're giving our customers what they deserve and what they want, but we do it in a way, and I think you've all sitting there spoken with probably Brandy and Leanne and Kim and Leora and all of the people at our company, and we try to train them on how to help out with every conversation that they have, whether it's just answering a question and then giving a tidbit of advice about something moving forward, those kinds of things. As far as looking out for something else, I think you just want to make sure, you always want to examine who's the underwriter. For us, we're underwritten by First American. That's a very recognizable name. We're exclusive to them. We don't have other underwriters. Some title companies might use 2 to 3 or 4 different ones. They all have different rates for one, but they all have different stipulations, different guidelines that they operate under. And you want to make sure that you're being secured by a title company and insurance company that knows the Indiana market, knows the Indiana law.
Man, they're the best.
Yeah, that's cool. One other thing I wanted to kind of hit on now is because I've been seeing a lot of title companies talk about fraud. I mean, we're in an era now that fraud is huge. People stealing other people's identities. There's wire fraud now. You used to go into a title company with $100,000 cashier's check and close the transaction, and now you can't. And there's just a lot of different things going on. So how does the consumer and you as the title company protect us against fraud, and what should people be looking out for regarding that?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you brought this up, Brett, because one of the biggest opportunities that we have in training and helping people better understand the whole process involved with title is first and foremost understanding what good funds law is. The Indiana Good Funds Law was passed, I think, in 2009, and it was an effort made by the state of Indiana to curb the fraud that was going on with laundering and checks and all of that. So what it states is that anything that you bring to closing that's under $500, it can be a personal check. Anything that you bring to closing between $500 and $10,000 has to be certified funds, which is a cashier's check, certified check, those kinds of things. Anything over $10,000 has to be wired. And that was all done. Again, I know it can be a pain. People complain that they didn't give the right form of payment, and we have to go back and ask for it in a different form, and sometimes it costs money. But that's all done to really secure the customer's investment and secure us as the escrow agent taking the money in good faith that it's actually in the account that you've provided it from, and that we're not going to be left high and dry. Now, the wire fraud, that's a whole nother animal. I mean, we're in a daily battle with that, and we have to have highly trained people in the escrow department that know exactly what to look for. I'll give you an example of something that happened to us a couple of weeks ago. We have a regular customer, a real estate agent. We get an email on a closing that we were going through the process. I think we had it scheduled for a couple days later, maybe even the next day. We get an email from someone in that organization, that real estate company that we communicate with all the time. And it was requesting new wire information, but it came from the email address, again, that we communicate with all the time. And so if our team hadn't been prepared and educated to know that they needed to make a phone call before sending any of that information over, we could have lost whatever amount of money that was being requested in that wire. And it was something as simple as a hacker, somebody had hacked into that email account with the real estate office, found chains of communication with title companies, and started to send these emails out on behalf of the real estate company, asking for new wire information, new wiring amounts, and different things that were attached to file numbers. And it all looked legit. Everything about the message looked 100% legit, just like it came from people we communicate with all the time. I think that one in particular, it was like 110,000 that would have been off in Spain or who knows where in no time if we hadn't looked it up. So I think what's really, really important is that if you get any kind of email communication from a title company, from a real estate company, from anybody that pertains to give me some kind of information, whether it's your social security number, whether it's asking for wiring instructions, whatever it is, if they tried to change something in the middle of something, call and verify. Call the trusted source, call the company, make sure that they have given that email out, sent that email out on themselves, and not that it was something could have been hacked.
If somebody has you wire that amount of money, is there, and let's say the hackers are successful in committing the fraud, is there anything that the investor can do to recoup that money? Is there any insurance or anything that the title company does? What's
sure.
in place to protect them?
Yeah, ultimately we have our own E&O insurance that we would have to lean on if it was, some kind of wire fraud scheme like that where we actually somehow lost money. It would first come back on us, and we would have to figure out if there was an investigation that needed to be done. Janet probably would be a better person to answer that from a legality standpoint on the company. But no matter if you got your money back, it wouldn't happen instantly. I mean, it would take a long, drawn-out process. You'd probably not be able to close on the property that you tried to close on. There would be a whole investigation that would have to be opened up. And the problem is the crooks have figured out how to be somewhat smart about it, because they are coming after smaller priced deals, because they know that those fall lower on the importance level for our authorities to look into. They are first trying to look into the multi-million dollar schemes, and then the hundreds of thousands of dollar schemes. And so if you come in and reroute, a $10,000 wire, you're going to go way down the totem pole of when that gets investigated, and probably will never get solved. These online crooks are hiding themselves better than ever.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, I've seen articles written about people losing, $250,000, and it's scary. And I know that as far as without E&O insurance, or I don't think the government, the banks back that, as far as my opinion, I don't really know. I've never had that happen. But, if you're listening out there, just be careful with, this is kind of a new thing. I don't think I was hearing about much about this last year or 2 years ago. But it seems like there's always a new scheme out there to fraud people out of their money. It's not the emails anymore that, my Uncle Henry's in New Zealand and they're hurt or something anymore. That's all, found out. But now it's this. And title companies, I think, are probably a key component in this fraud scheme, because there's wires going in and out all the time, and it's a decent amount of money. So cool. Before we go to the next section of the show, Eric, can you talk to us about what kind of trainings do you guys do for investors that would be beneficial for our listeners? So if some of our listeners are in Indianapolis, what do you guys offer as far as, education trainings or local clubs that you would recommend just to get some more information on investing or title companies and whatnot?
Absolutely. As far as clubs, I do recommend CIREA, Central Indiana Real Estate Investor Association. I recommend INRIA. I know that, the meetups, I think, are invaluable with the CIREA group. I think there's a lot of different breakout sessions that investors could find that fits their niche, whatever they're trying to accomplish. What we offer, again, it's catered to what the customer needs. So it typically starts like having a conversation, finding out kind of where they are. We have an awful lot of conversations with folks that are brand new. They've never done a deal yet. They have needs and questions that only our attorneys can start answering for them, such as setting up an LLC, getting proper documents. One of the biggest, hurdles that we're constantly battling is that the investors come to us with documents from who knows where. They set in on a seminar. They paid somebody in Arizona, hundreds of dollars for a book, and they came with documents. But a lot of times they don't hold up to the law of Indiana, and so we have to then come in and adjust those documents. But the trainings, again, catered. I would say the majority of the ones I do are on the title training, like I've done for some of your team. We spend about an hour to an hour and a half just going through all of those details, a lot more in detail than what I said when I gave you the A to Z on the condensed title. A lot of sales and marketing, social media, how to post, what to post, how often to post. I offer trainings on HR. Some people are looking to hire new staff members, but they're not good at that. They're good at doing whatever the business that they do is. So we train on that. There's a whole slew of things. Sometimes it's even just purchase agreements. People need to better understand what the purchase agreement involves, what it means, what are they getting themselves into, some of those things. So I would say it's catered, and it can be anything that people say, I could use help with this.
You also mentioned to me that you guys have several video tutorials as well on your website, correct?
We do. If you go to our website at hockertitle.com, there is a link, and there's 100 videos that are between 30 and 60 seconds long that tell the story of real estate, really. I mean, they're not just about title. It talks about lenders. It talks about buying, selling, closing, everything that is involved in real estate. And you can pick the ones that you think might help educate you a little bit. They're really kind of funny too. I mean, they're not, some stuck up video with fake plants in the background or something. I mean, they're.
Are you wearing any mullet wigs?
I am, yeah.
We do that too, so I was wondering.
But they are real helpful, and I always tell realtors, not so much investors, but the agents, that they can get the same videos, and they can get them marketed and branded to themselves, and pump them out, because you can take them off of our webpage and post them to your site, but they're going to be branded with all my information. For a small fee from the company we use, I think it's $49 a month, you can get all 100 branded to your own company, and inject them into blogs, inject them into your social media accounts, all the things that make Google say, I'm here, I'm alive.
Man, that's awesome. I'm gonna link all of those mentions in the show notes, guys, at www.simplewholesaling.com/episode 89.
One other thing I want to mention is I think that you guys offer this is you actually offer document packages. So I know a lot of people are always asking us about what are the documents I need to, for wholesaling, or what are the documents I need to be a buy and hold investor. And you guys actually offer those because I was looking at purchasing your landlord package, which are just a bunch of documents as far as leases, notices, things like that. And wholesalers might, I don't know what it includes, but it might be assignments. You guys offer packages like that for investors?
We do. We have several different varieties, just like you mentioned. We have land contract packages. We have landlord contract or landlord packages. Our wholesaling one's been probably the most popular one recently. And we also have just regular purchase agreement packages. People that are new in the business that don't have those initial documents that you might need with your first or second or early transactions. And again, that's part of our differentiator, is that because we're attorney owned, and I mean, it's not like we require you to close with us, but our assumption is if we're helping you, then you'll probably come back and close with us. So our fees are way lower than what most attorneys might charge for those same documents. We've got more skin in the game that way.
Yeah, I think it's super, super helpful. I know it is for us. And so again, you guys are attorney owned. So, if you guys are looking for attorney documents, instead of going to, I don't know, Rocket Lawyer or something like that, get somebody that really knows what they're doing and get their stamp approval on it. So cool. You ready to go to the next section?
We got to just skip to touch of randomness.
I just want to do one question.
We're at the 40-minute mark.
I know. 1, 2, 3. Going deep. So this is going to be in less than 2 minutes, Eric. But so as a leader of, in business and in your personal life, what type of legacy do you want to leave?
Well, I think it's important that, I guess legacy infers that it's being said about you after you are gone. So that he helped people, that there wasn't anybody that he turned his back to. He, always was trying to encourage people to better themselves, whether that's personally or through their business. That's the most important thing to me. When I wake up every day, I want to offer help. I want to make sure that people are getting what they need. I've been trained to do that professionally, but I also take the personal level pretty serious too. And so I think that's probably what, as simple as it sounds, that's really all I care that people remember about me, is that he helped people.
I like that.
It's awesome.
No, it's cool. Well, thank you for, your service, man. It's just been an honor getting to know you, through these last several months that we've been working with you and helping our team out. I know Jaren was super impressed by your training, and
I'm
amazing.
going to be doing a follow-up one. I want to go through the purchase agreement with one of the attorneys. Yeah. I really want to make that happen.
Jaren's been our dispositions manager for about a year, and he didn't know what a closing looked like. So
I went to 2 closings and I looked like an idiot.
he'd be asking these weird questions that
I'm like, what do
my
I do with
daughter
the
would know.
disclosure? What's a disclosure? What's that?
But don't feel bad, because I would say more than 60% of our customers, again, some seasoned, some veterans, they know how to sign their name real easy, but they don't know what they're signing all the time.
It's true.
And I think the power of knowledge is the most powerful, to be able to know what you're actually doing and being able to convey that and help other people understand better once you understand it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we're going to ask you one random question for today's touch of randomness, Eric. So you spend a lot of time traveling around North America. What is the best food that you have experienced?
Oh, well, I am a seafoodaholic, so I spent a lot of time in California and Florida on the East Coast. I guess I like strange foods. I don't know if I would follow Andrew Zimmerman everywhere he went, but I like to try new things. I won't say this was the best. It was one of the more exotic, but I had a Spanish chili in Kermit, Texas, that had raw octopus in it.
Oh, wow.
But going back to best, I would say, just anything that was seafood. I had some really good seafood in Seattle, some really good in New York. If it comes out of the ocean, I want to put it in my mouth. I love it.
What about gator? I had gator this last weekend. You ever had that?
I have, yeah. A lot of different varieties of it too.
Interesting.
Did you have it down in Florida?
Yeah, we went down there, and I always like to try interesting stuff too, whether it's a drink or whether it's just type of food. I don't know why. I like the different stuff. So
I don't turn my nose to very much the first time. I might turn it the second time you ask me to do it, but not the first time.
Yeah, for me, because I'm vegan, he's eating all these exotic stuff, and I'm like just barely trying to manage, so the big cruise that we had, all I could eat that was vegan was rice and beans and corn. It was fantastic.
It was a good time though.
It was a great time.
Good time.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks, Eric, for joining us today out of your busy schedule, man. And I know that our experience with Hawker and you has just been amazing. We appreciate everything that you've done for us and other investors around Indy. And but if one of our listeners wants to reach out to you or your company, where is the best place for them to go?
So they can visit our website at www.hawkertitle.com. They can also email me direct. That's going to be my name, eric.downing@hawkerlaw.com. Or they can call us, 317-578-1630. I'm at extension 37. If I'm not there, call Leanne. She's at extension 20.
I love Leanne. Very, very nice lady.
Yeah,
so
all of those things will be mentioned in the show notes at www.simplewholesaling.com/episode 89.
Sweet. Well, hey, thanks, Eric. And that's a wrap. So you guys check out this episode with Eric Downing from Hawker & Associates. And we'll see you soon, Eric.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.